I'm Jack, and welcome back, because today I'm going to give you guys a review for another one of my most anticipated movies of the year that I've been waiting for a really long time, Babylon. It is directed by Damien Chazelle, who directed Whiplash, La La Land, and First Man, and it stars Diego Calva, Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Jean Smart, Catherine Waterston, Samara Weaving, Tobey Maguire, Jovan Adepo, Jun Li, and many more. And with that said, let's get started. Babylon follows a group of people as they try to find success in Hollywood and make it big, as we are in the time period from the transition from silent films to talkies in Hollywood. However, we also follow the rise and fall of multiple people during this unbridled time in Hollywood with a lot of outsized ambition and excess. I've been really excited for this movie for a very long time. Damien Chazelle is one of my favorite filmmakers right now. He's made two of some of my all-time favorite movies with Whiplash and La La Land, where that and so has First Man are stories about people trying to find success with all these characters trying to do whatever it takes to make it big. And Babylon has all the ingredients for that yet again, except this seems to be his most biggest, wildest, and grandest movie ever. And I was excited for it because then I love the cast assembled, like Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and you got Diego Calva making his first big role in a movie like this. And so as a lot of these supporting cast members, and because I love movies about Hollywood. So this movie was right up my alley, and I have been excited for this movie for a while, and I love what I got from the trailers. So did Babylon live up to my expectations and deliver on the anticipation I had for it? Absolutely. Babylon is a wildly energetic movie about the rise and fall of multiple people in Hollywood, and on a technical front, this is a masterpiece, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. The performances here are fantastic. Margot Robbie delivers her best performance yet. I was in awe of her character, Nellie Leroy, throughout the entire movie. We see Margot Robbie deliver so much range as an actress, and this is by far her magnum opus. I have seen her deliver really good performances over the years, but this is her best yet. And I definitely think she has locked herself in for a lot of award nominations and potentially a win, because she is fabulous in the movie, and I loved her character, her dynamic with all these other people in the movie, and so as just seeing her go from being this aspiring actress, and so as see her just grow and see how she's changed over the course of this movie, and even some of the monologues and scenes of her trying to get a scene filmed and act in it, blew me away. She is stellar. Probably the standout performance here, and Diego Calva is fantastic as Manny Torres. He is definitely a star in the making, and for a movie like this, he does a really good job, especially being the most sympathetic and likable character of everybody in this movie. And I connected with Manny, how he wants to make it big, he wants to get into the industry, and see him grow and meet all these people, have all these relationships, and you see how he's grown in this industry as he tries to make it big in Hollywood, and he does that so well. There's a lot of layers and sympatheticness to his character that is very much on display, where you could connect with him in this moment. And then you got Brad Pitt as Jack Conrad, also fabulous. Brad Pitt's a very versatile actor, and he's really good at it, and he once again plays a really good character with Jack Conrad. There's a lot of funny moments with him, and I also love that we're again depicting his rise into Hollywood, but then we also see a lot of surprising things happen with everybody in this movie. But I really liked Brad Pitt's character, Jack Conrad, in this movie, and see as the story that he goes on throughout the movie as we follow all these characters trying to make it big. And the supporting cast from Jean Smart, Jovan Adepo, Jun Li, Tobey Maguire, who's in this movie for a little bit, but he is hysterical and awesome when he's on screen, and alongside Olivia Wilde and Samara Weaving and such. Everybody else here is also really good in this movie. There are some faces where it's just nice to see them on screen. Everybody in the cast delivers their A game, and this is by far a career best performance from Margot Robbie. On a technical level, this movie is a masterpiece. From the production quality to how the mansions are designed, to the exteriors of the houses, to the sets of filming locations in the studios and everything, it screams a movie that was taking place in the late 20s and the early 30s, because this movie spans over a couple of years. And I really like how they're able to depict this, because this is a very desperate time for Hollywood, where talk films are becoming a thing. The Jazz Singer came out and blew everyone away, and now everybody's trying to find a way to perfect this because of what The Jazz Singer did and how people succeeded, people failed, and trying to make a name for themselves during that transition period. And how they brought the production quality to life, bring this setting to life to where it doesn't feel like a movie that was made this year or even last year, it's impressive. It's a beautifully shot movie, definitely one of the best looking movies I've seen all year. The cinematography is done by Linus Sandgren, who also worked with Chazelle in movies before, like La La Land, which is, again, one of my favorite movies of all time. So seeing him return here is awesome, and it is such a beautifully shot movie, and I love the lighting and that we know what to focus on. So is just how things are shot and framed to where you really feel how grand and just whimsical Hollywood was during this time, where it has that magical Hollywood feel to it like La La Land does, but it also has a more profane and graphic nature of Whiplash and other movies. And I like how that was mixed in the movie, and the cinematography is beautiful here. And Justin Hurwitz is the composer of the score for Babylon, and what needs to be said, this is one of the best scores I've heard all year. It is fantastic. There's some motifs and stuff that reminds me of the La La Land score, which I also love. So having Justin Hurwitz back for Babylon is such a win for me, and I love the score overall. There's a lot of really great tracks in this movie, like Voodoo Mama and whatnot. It is perfect. I was ascending every time I heard a Justin Hurwitz score for this movie, and I love how it fits the nature of the movie, and so is the usage of it. Very impeccably done, and I just love hearing it throughout this movie. It has this very magical feel to it that I really appreciate a lot from Babylon, and Justin Hurwitz just continues to show why he's one of the best score composers in the business. Damien Chazelle has really grown as a filmmaker here, because he definitely has shown that he is able to handle much bigger movies in scope, and this is his most ambitious and chaotic film yet. There's a lot going on here, because this is a very chaotic time for Hollywood, and so as how he makes Hollywood and these locations feel like a big lived-in environment, and how he depicts it is very well. You still have all the signature traits that make a Damien Chazelle movie. It's a success story, but rather than following the success story of just one or two characters, it's many people, like Jack Conrad, Manny Torres, Nellie Leroy, everybody here. Everybody gets a role to play in this story, and it's really well done how he presents more success stories rolled into one. It shows you that he is able to make much bigger movies than he's ever had, because Whiplash and La La Land are much smaller scale, intimate stories. This one is grand. It is big in scale in comparison to his other works he's ever made. And this shows you that he's grown. He still has all the traits and the style you would expect from a Damien Chazelle movie. It's still technically well shot. It's still fantastic on that front. But it shows you that Damien Chazelle is definitely a director where he's definitely been upping his game over the past couple of years since he released First Man a couple of years back. Because it is the holidays, I definitely don't think Babylon's the movie for a whole family. It's definitely graphic at points. It's a mixture of Once Upon a Time, Singing in the Rain, meets a movie like Wolf of Wall Street, which I haven't seen, but that's what I've been hearing of for a while. And there are some very graphic moments in this movie that really catches me off guard, although I don't think it's as graphic as I expected it was going to be. But just keep that in mind. It's a very profane movie. There's a lot of excess and stuff happening in this movie that this is definitely the most adult-oriented movie from Damien Chazelle I've seen out of all the 4 movies he's directed thus far. And just like Avatar: The Way of Water, which was 3 hours and 12 minutes, this movie is also a 3-hour-long movie, just a few minutes short, and it's also very well paced. Never once throughout this movie did I sit there like, okay, we're dragging, I want this to move forward, we're not going anywhere. I was invested and engaged throughout this movie, and I have a really strong feeling that if I were to rewatch Babylon, it's going to be even better on rewatches, because there's so many things about it that are so well done, and so is how it tributes cinema. It's both a love letter to Hollywood and also a critique of it, because it shows how it's like, it's magical, just making a movie, and how chaotic it can be, and how like big it can be, and how it affects people. But it also shows like the darker sides of Hollywood, of how some people are very selfish and cruel. They're not the best people to do things, and it really critiques Hollywood, and it feels like it's the antithesis of La La Land, where if La La Land was a movie where being in Hollywood, being an actress and whatnot is beautiful and amazing. This movie shows the negatives and the dark sides of that. And so it paints Hollywood in a very interesting light where it both praises it, but it also critiques it at the same time. And how Damien Chazelle does this is very well depicted without feeling very in your face and tacked on. And I appreciated how he was able to try to do something like this for the movie. The screenplay is really good for the most part. It definitely has a lot of really well-written dialogue. There's a lot of great scenes. There are scenes in here revolving around the sound and silence on set that I'm not going to get into specific of, but it is outstanding. It's one of the best scenes I've seen for a movie all year. I was in awe throughout that whole scene, just playing out. There are a lot of scenes here that are some of the best I've seen all year. It is really well crafted, really well made, really well executed, and you really feel the tension because there are a lot of intense moments that are going on throughout this movie. And this is by far the Damien Chazelle movie that had the most intensity and suspense to it since Whiplash. And Whiplash has that more profane nature, and Babylon has that again. This is his most wildest movie he's ever made on multiple fronts. And so how he does it here definitely is very well presented. And the more I think about this movie, the more I were to like it even more, because I'm thinking of the highs and what this movie was able to achieve. And I think it was very well done on that front. So it's definitely something where the screenplay is well written. It handled the majority of these characters very well, even if there are some characters that could have been touched upon a bit more and just tackling a lot of issues that people were facing during Hollywood this time. But overall, I'd say the screenplay is still very well done, although I don't think it's his best screenplay he's written, but it's still a really good one nonetheless. The ending is powerful. It is a very shocking ending that's going to stick with you if you are a fellow fan of movies, and I'm very curious to see how more people are going to respond to Babylon now that it's going to come out everywhere. So really looking forward to that, because this is by far shaping up to be his most polarizing and divisive movie he's ever made. So how that's going to affect people, how people are going to take away from the movie and the ending, I'm very curious to see, because for me, I like the ending. I did sit there wondering what was going on, but for the character arcs that we've gone on with all of these characters, where it ends off every one of them, and so as the final shot, it's something that's going to stick with me for a while because of what it means, what happened to these people throughout the movie, and how would it affect me and people who love movies. So it's a powerful ending. There's a lot of things about it where it's going to really take you by surprise, but I liked how it ended things. It does feel very satisfying and fulfilling with the journey that we followed on with these characters. This movie is very chaotic, and maybe it's a little bit more chaotic than it really needs to, because there are some really chaotic scenes that are very well done, but there are moments where it feels like some characters and ideas could have been expanded upon more than it has, despite the already 3-hour-long runtime. So I'm not sure if I want to give this the highest grade that I'm thinking of giving it, because while the highs are really high and there aren't really as many issues I have with it, there's just some moments that feel maybe a little too wild for its own good. Some things could have been expanded upon a little bit more. But this is a movie that the more I'm thinking about, the more I am liking it. So it's a movie that I definitely appreciate. I definitely see Babylon being a movie that gets better the more I were to watch it. With all that said, I loved Babylon. It was worth the long anticipation I had for it. The performances are outstanding from Margot Robbie, Diego Calva, and Brad Pitt. It's phenomenal on a technical front, from the terrific score, the beautiful cinematography, and the grand scale and magical nature of Hollywood, while also showing the darker sides of Hollywood. And it is a very well-crafted movie that shows that Damien Chazelle still has that magic within him as a director, and he's definitely shown that he has changed and is making by far his biggest film yet with Babylon that I really enjoyed overall. So in the end, I'm going to give Babylon an A. I don't think it's quite as good as Whiplash or La La Land, but I love Babylon overall. It's definitely another worthy addition to Damien Chazelle's filmography. I definitely do want to see this movie again, though, because I have feelings that I'm going to like it more on repeat viewings, because this is definitely an interesting movie that's really going to have a lot of people think about this movie and what it means and how they feel about it. For me, I'm on the very positive end. I definitely give it a thumbs up. I highly recommend you go check it out if you can, because it's definitely a movie that's going to get a lot of discussions and nominations. I'm very curious to see how that plays out, because overall, I really enjoyed Babylon, and for a movie that was one of my most anticipated of the year, and probably my most anticipated movie for the back half of this year, it delivered on my expectations, and I had a really great time with it. So yeah, that's my review for Babylon. What are your thoughts on it? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I have planned. I'm going to have a review for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish coming soon, and a spoiler review for Avatar: The Way of Water, alongside ranking videos I'm hoping to get out soon over the holiday break. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned for all that fun stuff coming your way. And don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below. So please go do that while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And stay tuned for more.